Hey Sean, here's my contribution to your flip video request. This is Leo from the Netherlands, and you know of course how much of a big fan I am of your channel, and how much you make me laugh, and how much I like the videos you do. And of course, I'd like to contribute to your request. And I'm not myself on screen, but you know the reason for this. I thought about what I would do, and well, I didn't come up with something good, and at the end I decided, why don't I just take you along my bookcase and tell you something about my favorite reads. And I have a few months ago I de-hauled quite a lot of books, a few hundred of them, because my bookshelves were so over flooded, and there were so many books that I read, but I knew I would never read again, and books I didn't like quite that well, and books that I bought, but in my heart I knew I would never read them, so I just threw them out. So there's lots of space again on my shelves. Okay, let's see. But first, meet my companion, the one I live with, Doggy, my almost 15-year-old Jack Russell. Okay, I know you're not that much of a dog person, so I'll keep it at this. Recently I have been more and more interested in reading the Pulitzer Prizes, the winners of the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, and I have quite a few of them. I think maybe half of them all, and here they are in chronological order. First the ones of 1920s. I know, I think it was you and Britta who read this one, The Good Earth, some time ago. I'm quite anticipating that one, because I think you both find it very good. I've also the movie of it. It's quite an old movie, I think of the 30s or 40s, and want to see that too. Of course, Gone with the Wind, I read that years ago, and still one of my favorite reads. And okay, here are some more. The 40s, John Steinbeck, really good author, I think. And John Cheever, his stories. Well, I'm a big fan of John Cheever. And here the newer ones, Lonesome Dove, I read that recently, gorgeous book, and somehow it was all over BookTube in the period I read that. It's just a coincidence, but a nice one. I also saw the television series, and they were it was very well depicted. The book was followed quite closely. And by the way, I'm collecting also all the movie adaptations of the Pulitzer winners, and I think I have them all by now. 24 of them there are. And strangely enough, when you look at them, at the years, you notice that in the beginning of the Pulitzer Prizes, the early ones, many of them were dramatized for the screen, and the newer the Pulitzer Prizes go, the fewer there are made movie adaptations from. except of course the magnificent The Hours of Michael Cunningham, which is my, for years now, since it came out and I saw it for the first time, of many times, it's my favorite movie of all time. Really, really beautiful. And here are even more recent ones. This I know from you. You read it recently and you were very enthusiastic about it, so I'm quite curious. And this one I also know from you. I noticed it popping up in a video by you, where I don't know who it was, but you were shopping with a guest of yours, and in a Tokyo bookstore. And I remember you picking that up. And Donna Tartt, of course, I love her. I met her once in real life, and she's a very, very small, tiny woman with incredibly, not blue, but so bright eyes that they almost are lights, you know, but a very, very sophisticated, beautiful woman. And here are the latest ones. And then my TBR shelves over here with some hopefully good reads. This one I'm very curious about. I've heard nothing but positive things about it. And well, here it goes on. And let's see, what else have we got? Well, I'm collecting the Penguin Essential series. Very cheap pockets, like 5 or 6 or 7 euros each. But they have the greatest covers, you know. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Or this one, Lucky Jim. Oh, there Lucky Jim goes. Here he is. Okay. And what else do we got? Well, my favorite book of last year, Ohio, by Stephen Markley. Well, I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed this book. It is so very well written. It's very literary, but also very exciting. It almost becomes a thriller at the end, and it's I cannot recommend this book enough. But somehow it's not. I didn't see it much on YouTube, except I know that Peg, our lovely Peg, was also very enthusiastic about it. So please, Sean, read it someday. I know you're planning to, and I so hope you don't bail it. Okay, more favorites of mine. Well, this was just a bit of a phase, Edmund White, but he was good. And then, of course, Michael Cunningham, always a great author. Jonathan Franzen, more Donna Tartt, and here are some of the books I read recently. There was I think a bit of hype, but I don't know. It was good, but not that good, you know. And sometimes books are so very much hyped, and you have such high expectations of it, and well, not this one for me. And the same goes with The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. But this was a really, really good one. The Glove Maker by Anne Weisgarber. Beautiful, beautiful novel in the days of the settlers in Western and Central America, and very, very good. Also exciting, and yeah, and she's a very kind person, and wise Cava too. And this one, also interesting. I know you have this also on your TBR, Southernmost by Silas House. I never heard about him, but the content matter appealed to me. It's a gay novel, of course, that appeals to me. And it turns out that Silas House is a writer in the south of America who is also a very Christian, and I have no religion myself at all, and funnily enough, this book appealed to me. It's not religiously in its writing at all. You just notice it sometimes when the main character, a boy, prays, but that's really it. And there is the subject of a gay couple that is not accepted by a church, and I must say it was one of the best books I read for some time. So sometimes I think you have to just, well, look beyond your prejudice. You know, if I had known beforehand that he was such a Christian author, I probably would have skipped the book, you know, but there you go, a very fine novel. And this one, I think maybe it was already too late for me when I started watching BookTube. That it had already gone away, for I have not heard anything about it on BookTube. But it's a really great book of short stories by a man, Curtis Dawkins, who is a convicted felon, and he's still in prison, and he wrote these stories out of his own experience in prison. I'm not a big fan of short stories, but this one really, really good. And Patchett, of course, especially this novel, The Magician's Assistant, also a gay-themed novel. And over here, Alan Hollinghurst. I read all his books, but I loved them in the beginning, but the more recent ones, I think he's becoming a bit overly literal, you know, doing too much his best, and I don't like that anymore. This one is one of the best authors of gay fiction, Paul Russell, I think. And here, my favorite novel of all time, still, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I know it's there's a lot of controversy around it, especially when it came out. The silliest thing to me was when I read that there were people who thought that a woman, especially a straight woman, could never write well about a gay character. Well, that's just too silly, well, you know. And here's the Dutch Cava, which is more the well-known cover, which is a bit funny. It must depict a man who is in great pain. You know, that's what it's all about. The main character. He's in physical and psychological pain. But in fact, this is a stock photo of a man having an orgasm. Well, there you go. It's a nice known fact. Then John Steinbeck, of course, and the beautiful, gorgeous book, The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Patrick Gale, also one of my favorite writers. Well, what else? Hazards of Time Travel by Joyce Carol Oates. I read this one because I'm also a big fan of Eric Anderson, the Lonesome Reader. And as we all know, he is the biggest fan of Oates, I think, on the whole globe. And I just wanted to try a novel of hers. And I must say, it's really, really good. I liked it. So I will read more of her. Then, well, Sean, we won't say anything about her. You know. Then, well, definitely Maurier, of course. I really like her. Since my teenage years, I am reading her, and this one is still my all-time favorite. About a man who has found a drug that can transport him back in time a few hundred years ago, and he only for a short time, and he, in the course of the story, he gets addicted to this drug. Very, very good, and plan to reread that very soon. This one, I read it a few months ago. It's a very, very well written book. I was very impressed by it. We Are Not Ourselves by Matthew Thomas. I think he's Canadian. He writes about a man who develops Alzheimer's disease, and it's about how, especially in the beginning, the people close around a patient with that disease don't know what's the matter, and it's hard to recognize until at the end everything falls into place, and then a real tragedy occurs, And it's also about when you have Alzheimer's yourself, you try to hide it in the beginning, and it's very sad. But it was written in a non-emotional way, and that's good, I think. It was very personal for me too, because my father has Alzheimer's disease in a rather advanced stage now, and it's so yeah. It was very recognizable. And then some German literature. Well, who do we have here? Our own Britta Billa. And she's just a great woman. I love her channel. I love, the way she talks, opinions, her eloquence. And she's a respected person here in Dutch society. She has done many things over the years, and still does. And so when I started following her channel, I thought I have to read her novel, of course, and I did so recently, and I was amazed by how well she writes. Also, writing is one of her abilities. So, yay to Britta Billa. You hear that? It's not Britta Böhler, but Britta Billa. Okay, well maybe that's the Ö sound is maybe a bit hard to pronounce for English-speaking people. Well, and then this one, Lake Overturn, very beautiful novel of someone who only wrote this and a short story collection, I believe, and that's it for more than 10 years ago. And this one is Half-Life, a beautiful novel by Aaron Kroc. He's a personal friend of mine, and he lives in New York, and is also a fantastic photographer and an art photographer. It's a story of it's a YA novel, a gay YA novel, and the funny thing is everyone is raving about Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, which is a good book. But this is at least as good, not even better, if not better. But okay, well, it's not that much known, you know. Well, that's it. Jasmine Ward, of course, a Southern writer. I love Southern literature, and she's very good. This one I was very, very impressed by. And well, the rest is mostly Dutch literature. Won't bother you with that. So, Sean, that was it from me, and I wish you the best of luck with your channel in the coming years. I will, of course, stay with you and follow you and be a big fan and retweet and still stay as the cheerleader of my bunch of favorite booktubers. And well, with that, I will leave you, and with a final image, Sean, as a message from me to you. Well, bye bye. Damn, how do I stop this?